Boy. 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 Welcome to another episode of SuggesTing. Today we're looking at the latest brought us... The latest brought us by Santa Monica Studios. I had everyone recommending this game to me like mad. I have a huge passion for Norse mythology. In fact, Viking is the whole theme of my channel and I never played it. I didn't play the originals either, but today, let's see if I'll be suggesting God of War. Kratos, killer of the gods, has moved away from Olympia and now to Midgard, and he has a family, and in this journey you can expect to fight many enemies as you travel through the realms of the Norse gods. But personally, I've only played a little of God of War 3 when it came out, and I wasn't really a huge fan, but hey, I didn't like Knights of the Old Republic at first either, and that is arguably one of the best Star Wars games ever made. So let's jump into one of this game's best features. It's fighting. I cannot explain how good the fighting feels in this game. Everything can flow so nicely, and you will find what works for you with both weapons, but man, that frost axe is one of the most satisfying weapons I have ever used, and the possibilities are huge. Got an enemy who you just can't kill, and you just want to stop him, throw your axe, freeze them, and then deal with the others. Ready for him to fight? Call it back. Like you're a goddamn Thor and kill him. It was awesome, and every time you call your axe back, I'll be honest, I needed to change my underwear. Now, for the sake of disclosure, I didn't play God of War difficulty. Next time I'll play difficulty when I stream it again, okay? Right, back to the matter at hand. I had heard that the hardest difficulty was very unforgiving, but having beaten the game on challenging mode, I think that was the right choice. Every now and then I would hit a wall, figure out how to get past it, and end up as a better warrior as a result. You fight a crazy amount of enemies, and maybe only two of them really annoyed me, which was the Nightmare and the Revenants. They served as more of a hindrance than anything else because you could only hit them shortly after being hit by one of Atreus' arrows. But the other monsters were all challenging in their own rights, be it a Draugr who has ranged, standard tank, or even the one who can straight up fire charge you, and many more variations, be it weapons and so on. And all of these guys have a way to be dealt with. Oh, and I actually forgot about one more annoying enemy. This guy borrows and he's such a pain to deal with, and that is, I may butcher this, the Tatzelworm? Yeah, I'll probably ruin that. But screw this guy and everything he stands for! Obviously there are many more enemies, such as ogres, wolvers, hellwalkers, dark elves, ancients, and soul eaters, and I also love the lore behind some of them. For example, the soul eater. If it kills you, your soul is destroyed and you cannot enter Valhalla or even Helheim. You will cease to exist as if you are nothing, and the dark elves and light elves are locked in a bitter, eternal war of who has control of the light. I just love all these little pieces of information. Now let's go into the weapons. This is kind of a mini spoiler, but you get three. The first is the frost axe, which you, the player, learns with your wives. Then you have your fist and shield combo, and the final one, which is a really awesome story moment, you get the OG Blades of Chaos. And while I didn't play them, so I don't have that nostalgia factor, they are awesome to play, and they're completely different. So now you have your fists and shields, your frost axe, your blades of chaos, and there are so many possibilities when it comes to comboing these guys together. You also get many different runic attacks, and I think here, apart from the use of Atreus, which is where only one of them is really that great, but for you as Kratos, I would say you end up picking whichever suits your style. For me, it was a ranged frost attack that can either hit a group or massively disrupt a singular enemy drastically, and I had a rune for my Blades of Chaos that just smashed the hell out of the people in front of me, and my favourite one, which had me spinning my blades, hitting all around me. Many bosses, these are typically your trolls, ogres and ancients, and all these guys have variants to keep it all different, and even in the end game when they're easier to deal with, it still feels like an accomplishment when you're killing them. The ancients did frustrate me though, because if you have no cover, expect to die a lot. Eventually though, thanks to the many different build options, you will find a way around most enemies, which brings me to my next point. The build you can go down not only with your armor, which will enhance your stance, but you have talismans as well, which can either be something simple like, hey, here's some more defense, or a buff chance when you parry. But for me personally, I went for the one that let me create a rift in time, where everyone is slowed and I can move around more freely. This is super handy in any tough situation, especially for me against the ancients. because what I could do was I could hit them, get the rock on the floor and to throw at them, but then I could create a rift in time so I could run and grab it without being hit, which saved me many deaths, by the way. I also opted to choose the armor that focused on strength and defense, but you could do anything from all strength, all defense, runic power, vitality. You could do a few all-rounders if that is your style. Artrius is one of the best companions on a utility front that I have ever had. When he has skill points put into him, he isn't only dealing crazy damage, but he can stun, hold enemies in place, and combo with your moves, my favourite being a big old Kratos strike, and then, boy, would run, jump off your back, and get an awesome shots out. I've had some better companions in games of late, but none of them compared to him at the moment. Now, it would be improper to not mention the boss fights. These games know how to deal with them. They are epic, they have a wonderful mix of cinematic sections with normal gameplay, and it's bloody good fun to be fighting a dragon, Magnus and Modi, Boulder, and so many more. They all have something unique about them which keeps you on your toes, and when you learn their moveset, it's not a matter of if you'll kill them, but when. One last thing that needs to be mentioned for fighting is Valkyries. These freaking badasses are the ultimate of challenges. There are 8 of them, they are all unique in fighting style, and do you know how I know this game is great? I spent 6 straight hours fighting Kara underleveled, fighting constantly in one single stream. I lost every single time. I didn't get mad, maybe once. Sake, why did her health come back? Her health went back. I don't understand. I don't get it. I took health away when she was this low, and it came. I need to see a VOD. I need to see something. And then the next day I beat her in 20 minutes, but hey, I had nothing but fun learning how to fight, optimizing how I play, and of course, finding the coolest ways to kill. But if I would change anything, could we spam less Drauga maybe? And I found a way around this, and that was to farm them for buffs with my parries, and then not strike them back. Because 5 grunts is way nicer than wave 6 when they are all shooting fireballs, charging, tanks. It is not a fun time. But once you have finally defeated them, all cleansing their corruption, you face the Queen. She has a way more health, has all the moves of the Valkyrie, so I'm extremely thankful I took her down right after defeating the 5 of them, because that way it was all fresh in my mind. If you're looking for a challenge, seriously, face them down. I'm adding this bit in post because I hadn't even mentioned the skill tree, but let's keep it simple. It's very good and varied. Personally, it wasn't too hard to unlock it all, and that was before I went on and took on all the Valkyries. But you can expect a nice expansion on your moveset, which alongside the runes keeps the fighting fresh, fun, and badass as hell. This game is an odd one in this aspect because it actually is open world. You can just follow the story and it will slowly take you through most of them, but it won't take you through Muspelheim or Niflheim, so bear that in mind. If you're looking for a pretty area, you won't find them there, but you will get some insane fighting challenges to grind out loot. But overall, it doesn't take too long to get anywhere. You either travel usually on foot or by boat. The realms are incredibly diverse. Everything has something unique about it, whether it's the fires of Muspelheim, the peaceful and beautiful Alfheim, the land of the light and the dark elves, or surprisingly varied landscape of Midgard. This has you covered. Personal favourite was the top of the mountain, because when it comes to snow and mountains, they win every time. And hey, Niflheim is just nasty, okay? It just looks gross. All the time. There are plenty of collectibles and questing available, which will take you through many mini challenges, either to help or in the form of realm tears. You end up with some pretty good loot. Sometimes I would say, however, best ones are the errands for the Dwarven brothers called Sindri and Brock. They will take you all over and they are super fun. In particular, the Mad Dwarven King quest area is great. There are so many chests which will vary from items, health upgrades, rage upgrades, money, runes, but the best ones to me are the runic chests. You can unlock them in a variety of different ways, finding either rune pots or bells in the vicinity, either smashing or hitting them in a quick fashion so you can open the chest. These are good little things to do with an immediate reward, which is nice, and who doesn't love being able to take more hits or rage for longer, destroying all those who dare stand in the way of Kratos. You are rewarded pretty heavily with exploring because you will find lots of lore, and the best lore is in the form of the shrines. You'll hear tales of the gods, and what they have done is often then expanded on by either Mimir or Artrius. And learning little details like the realm of Svartalfheim is the land of the Dark Elves, except there actually aren't any Dark Elves there. They are in fact dwarves, but the Aesir saw the colour of their skin and just assumed they were Dark Elves. Along with deeds of the Aesir like Thor, and how he killed the biggest giant, and generally just that they're assholes. But it's great to hear because, hey, you gotta hate someone. It is God of War. After all, it would suck if we loved all of them and then went on a rampage killing them. But hey, he's a changed man now, and speaking of that, let's dive into the next section, the story. It starts with Kratos chopping down a tree, which is marked with a golden hand. Kratos casually climbs the whole damn tree like it weighs a nothing, but before that you see his bandages loosen, and it reminds him of his past. It still haunts him. Then it's a very somber, and you're getting the pyre ready for your wife's funeral, and it's very sad. You go out, essentially have a tutorial with Boy, which brings it to the next aspect. Everything is all about teaching Atreus, and Kratos thinking he isn't ready yet, but seeing his father-son relationship, where he has no idea about his powers, which has me screaming half the time when he talks back, and I'm sat here like, mate, you don't know the half of it. If only you knew the things he's done. But you go around hunting, training Boy, and you are home once again, and someone's knocking on your door. You get the boy to hide, and someone whom we have to assume is a god, because man, this guy will not die. The fight is epic, a brilliant introduction to the God of War series. But once you defeat him, it seems like he just can't die. He constantly says how he cannot feel anything, and you have a couple of moments where you're like, oh thank God, and then he comes back. Who is this man? But you realise it's time to leave home and complete her final wish, which was to scatter her ashes in the highest peak of the realm. You know the boy isn't ready, but now is the time to train him as we embark on this journey. You'll get a couple puzzles along the way. Most of them rely on you throwing your axe or using it to free something. One thing that's really touching to see is Kratos learning to be a father. The first moment you really see him trying is when you see the mountain in Midgard, and Boy says how he wishes Mother was there to see it. And he slowly raises his hand to comfort him, but then quickly pulls it away. And it's so endearing to see him try, but ultimately not knowing what to do. You will see some great characters along the way. I love Brock, and the Witch of the Woods is badass, even though we shot her boyfriend. Sorry about that. We also meet Sindri, who is Brock's brother, and they are complete opposites. He's not crude, he's a massive germaphobe, and seeing him react to weapons which are covered in blood, and he just spends the whole time either retching or being sick. It's hilarious. You learn to get past this mysterious black fog, and you need something from Alfheim, and it's actually here where I gain so much respect for Atreus. This whole time you're fighting Dark Elves who are locked in a constant bitter civil war with the Light Elves at the end of this place. You're in this light, and you get warned by the witch to not be lost in it. Kratos steps in, he can hear his wife, and he's following, and all of a sudden he's pulled out by Atreus, who is screaming at Kratos, who is upset because he was following his wife, and he's only gone like, what, a minute, right? Wrong, it's been hours. And this sets in when you look around you, and there are corpses stacked everywhere as he stood by and guarded you this whole time. Well played, Atreus, you absolute beast. You make your way up the mountain in Midgard, complete various puzzles and get some loot. You then face down a dragon in an epic battle, which was bloody awesome, and as you can imagine, cinematic pieces which are awe-inspiring. After which we head up towards the peak, and as I said earlier, visually stunning. I just love how this place looks. But as you're climbing your way up, you see 3 people questioning someone called Mimir, and we learn that that guy who attacked us in fact earlier was called Boulder. But Mimir is happy to tell them all to piss off, and I could listen to him all day. You then learn that the highest peak is in fact not here but in Jotunheim, and last we know is that we are stood by the last known gate to get there. We'll need something to activate it. Mimir, however, can guide us, but he's been imprisoned by Odin in this tree. So we cut off his head in almost a comical fashion due to how blunt this whole thing is. And the line is, I'm going to cut your head off now. Fair enough. just got me laughing. You then take him back to the witch to be animated. You bring Mimir back and you actually learn that the Witch of the Woods isn't just a witch, she is in fact Freya. How awesome is that? But with Kratos' hatred for the gods, he didn't exactly feel the same way, and you leave rather quickly. It turns out Mimir can also speak the language of the World Serpent, and that moment really reminds me of when Dory in Finding Nemo says she can speak whale. Feels odd to compare these two, but for this moment, it stands. You learn that you need a magical chisel, one wielded by a famous giant, and with the help of the serpent, you enter the frozen area where Thor killed that giant. After going through and solving more puzzles, learning about what happened, you are confronted by Magni and Modi, sons of Thor. They are also the ones questioning Mimir with Boulder, so you know their intentions cannot be good. You have a pretty intense fight taking them both on. There are a couple moves I didn't figure out how to defend, but hey, second try. Seeing Magni launch Modi or striking his hammer against his shield to strike with the wrath of thunder, but you best them. Magni is killed and Modi flees. This has me worried as hell because these guys were strong. Imagine what Thor is like. Atreus, after his little mini rage, starts to cough blood. His sickness is returning. Mimir tells Kratos the longer he takes to tell him, the more damage it will do. But you get the magical chisel, which lets you break into Odin's sealed hidden chambers. And it was here where I faced my first Valkyrie. It is badass and as brutal as you can imagine. You're about to head into Tyr's vault when Modi jumps you, catches you with his lightning, but the possibility of seeing his father die causes him to baby Spartan rage and collapse. You take him back to Freya, where she tells you that she needs to cure him, but you cannot use your axe where you need to go, in Helheim. Now we go to dig up his past in obtaining these blades of chaos, but it's time to go to hell and save our boy by obtaining the gatekeeper's heart. And while that is a cool fight, you have fought this guy, or well, at least variants of him a couple times. You rush back, Freya helps you, and you get a lesson on how you shouldn't put your needs above your boys. But before I end up explaining the entire plot and all its backstory, let's loosely summarize it. Kratos finally tells Boy that they are gods, very much a kid-like reaction because his first words were, "Can I turn into an animal?" And you just see a look on Kratos' face like, wait, what? But anyway, you go through Tyr's vault, head to the gate to Jotunheim, but this is where I started to dislike him. He got more and more cocky, seemingly learning all the wrong lessons about being a god, and that he can do whatever he wants. Even dismisses Mimir and says, "We know better." Like, watch your mouth! This is Mimir we're talking about. But anyway, he's very nasty to Sindri. I could have yeeted him off the peaks of Midgard after that. On your way up, you find Modi beaten up, presumably by Thor because he wasn't happy with what happened to Magnus. And against Kratos' wishes, the boy stabs him with this whole, "I'm a god, I can do what I want." Oh my god, did I hate him. You reach the peak, and as you open the gate, Boulder attacks. You fight back, destroying the gate in the process. You try to get the boy to run away, but he's all cocky, saying, "I'm a god too." You guys noticing a theme here? He then shoots Kratos with an electric arrow, paralyzing him. But obviously Boulder deals with Atreus. You chase him down, fight on a dragon, and end up in Helheim in yet another cinematic awesomeness. But I think it's here we enter the spoiler zone. Feel free to skip to the time frame below. Boy kind of snaps out of it as Helheim shows him visions of what he did, and it's kind of haunting him. Kratos is haunted by his father Zeus, and Baldur, we learn, is Freya's son, and now he is troubled by the fact he didn't kill her, and you can see it in a ghostly vision almost. But you escape in a pretty awesome fashion, turning an old Viking boat into a flying thing, and then head back into Tyr's vault, flip it over, get the Unity Stone, which let Tyr travel to the many realms, even outside of the Norse ones, which explain the Greek alcohol that we found. You travel to the realm between realms, and find the gate to Jotunheim, followed by fighting hordes of enemies from each realm, and bring it back to Midgard. You only need one thing left to finish it, Mimir's other eye, which was in Thor's statue, which, if you remember, was eaten by the world serpent. So you get a boat, and he lets you paddle your way into his mouth. You grab the eye, and now you can head into Jotunheim, and this is where it gets crazy. The serpent is unnaturally shaky. What the hell is happening? Are we going to die in the belly of this snake? You are then thrown up, and he collapses. Who the hell did this to such a giant beast? Baldur is back. You fight him, he punches Boy, and it turns out the arrow we used to keep his quiver on was his weakness. Baldur is no longer immune to all attacks. You spend the whole time fighting him while Freya is trying to restrain you both. It's sad to see how desperate she is to save her son, despite how far gone he really is. And after an epic fight, Baldur is strangling Freya. But Kratos knows this cycle must end, so he breaks his neck, leaving her with anger, bitterness. She will certainly come back for revenge, but not in this game at least. You use Mimir's head to open the gate to Jotunheim, and you learn that Faye, his wife, was a giant. And you know how games have a very easy telltale sign of what's climbable? by, oh, this red fence thing or whatever, you know what I'm talking about. In this game, it's yellow carving paint, and there's an actual reason for this. Faye foresaw everything, so in advance she had carved out the path she knew you would take. Remember those trees you chopped which had a hand mark? That was what was protecting you from the gods, keeping you hidden. So when she wanted to chop them down for her pyre, she knew it would begin the journey that she foresaw. How crazy is that? Unfortunately, every giant deer though is dead. You spread her ashes, and the song called Ashes is an absolute masterpiece. One of the best game scores I have ever heard. Atreus questions Kratos though, saying they referred to him as a different name, and it was in fact Loki! Loki! How awesome is that? But having had the touching moment, you know it's time to come home. And the next bit is optional, because it opens up now, so you can finish your quests, errands, grind gear and hunt Valkyries. But you head home, you then sleep, and you wake up years later. Your house is being destroyed, you go out the door.
Your ball.
Oh my god. Oh! Freaking Thor at the end. This is my first time playing God of War, and oh my god was it a journey. This game probably has the most satisfying, awesome fighting experience I have ever had in a game. There's plenty to do. I racked up around 40 hours, and if you're like me, I'm tempted to do a second playthrough because I beat it in challenging mode, and now I want to take it on in God of War mode, just to say I beat it in the hardest difficulty. But all in all, with the story, fighting, its world, its music, it's all on another level as a gaming experience. So yeah, I'm suggesting God of War.